what a start to an album. That track is fantastic. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I am Molly, and in this video I'm going to be ranking all of the studio albums from the American rock duo The White Stripes. Now the White Stripes are a pretty popular band. They're very well known for just having a really kind of unique sound to them. I don't really know many other bands that sound exactly like The White Stripes. They definitely are good at kind of doing their own thing, and they've kind of carved out a little niche in rock music that they fill perfectly. I just love their music. It's super entertaining. However, I'm not extremely familiar with a lot of their albums. I think the only White Stripes album I had heard completely before filming this video was Elephant, which I love that album, so I figured I would go through, check out the rest of their stuff, and really kind of give their entire discography a thorough listen, and yeah, just rank their albums and see which one ends up being my favorite. Alright, so here are the little categories for my ranking system. So A+ albums are going to be the White Stripe albums that I think are perfect. There is not a single flaw on them. The A albums are going to be near perfect. There's maybe like one or two tiny things about them I'm not into. The B albums are going to be very solid, super enjoyable, kind of right in the middle. The C albums are going to be meh, kind of underwhelming. And then the D albums are just going to be not my favorite. So for this video, I'm just going to go in order of when each album came out. So that means we are starting off with their self-titled album, their debut album that came out in 1999. This one, overall, I do really like the sound of it. It almost has kind of an old-fashioned-y, muffled radio kind of sound to it. It's really interesting, but it makes it oddly enjoyable to listen to. They definitely seem to use a lot of acoustic elements. There's like some tambourine going on, also some folksy sounding stuff as well. But on this first album of theirs, I think the flow could have been a little bit better. The tracks sometimes sound a little bit disjointed. The Big Three Killed My Baby is really an interesting track to listen to. I like this one. I really love how it builds up, and then it's got really amusing lyrics too, which again just kind of add to that very fun, entertaining side to the sound that the White Stripes have. Also, the track Screwdriver does a really good job of kind of using subtlety and restraint at certain points and then bringing the energy at other points instead of just kind of going all out with its sound. I really like that when they hold back a little bit. And also the track One More Cup of Coffee, it's a little slower, almost a little bit more melancholy sounding, but I really liked this one. Kind of a different tone for this album. But overall, the debut album from the White Stripes, very entertaining to listen to. I do enjoy a lot of the tracks on it. I just kind of wanted them to, I don't know, work a little bit more cohesively as an album. I think I'm going to put this one in B, right in the middle. It's definitely a good album. It's got some enjoyable tracks on it. It's just not one of their standouts in my opinion. Up next is Stijl, something like that. Their 2000 album. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce the name of this one. This album is great too. Again, they just play around with a lot of different sounds. However, there is markedly a more mature sound to this album compared to their debut album. They also do a great job on Stijl of playing around a lot with like stopping and starting different rhythms. Instead of like increasing the overall volume or sound of the music, they almost use tempo and rhythm and stopping and starting the music more to kind of create a cool dynamic with the sound. And I really picked up on that a lot on this second album of theirs. There's also definitely less of that old-fashioned-y sound, and I think they go in a more just rock direction on this album as well compared to their debut. I love how the track Hello Operator starts. It just is a really fun song to listen to, and there's a great grooviness to it. Truth Doesn't Make a Noise is definitely a standout on this album for me. I love this song. It almost has an odd country western sound to it at certain points, so I'm surprised it's one of my favorites because that's generally not a sound I really gravitate toward, but it just works so well on this track paired with the piano and that acoustic guitar. Just a great sound. This one's also a little bit slower, kind of a sad, melancholy tone to it at times as well. But yeah, this album is just really fun and entertaining to listen to. They create a lot of cool change-ups and dynamics with the sound on this one, and it just really stood out to me. I don't think it's an absolutely perfect album, but I am pretty happy putting Stijl in A. Up next is going to be White Blood Cells. This is the White Stripes 2001 album. Overall, I think this one is a great blend of their first two albums. It kind of has a more acoustic vibe to it that their first first album, their debut album, had, but they keep that really mature sound that their second album had, and it just is a great blend of those two sounds. This one is also super cohesive, the tracks flow great, and yet again, the White Stripes do a fantastic job of creating a lot of grooviness and cool sounds and dynamics with honestly extremely minimal instrumentals. They don't really use a lot of like fancy over the top stuff. They just have this very almost rustic acoustic quality to their sound, but they do so much with what little instrumentation they do use. Dead Leaves and the Dirty Ground is such a great opener. It has just that awesome guitar and a great groove going on with the sound of it. Fell in Love with a Girl, obviously one of their most well-known tracks for sure, and I just like the delivery of the lyrics of this one. It's got this great sort of punchiness to it, and it just really catches your ear. And also the track I Think I Smell a Rat is a great example of how they do so much with so little. Ultimately, the only issue really I have with this album is there's a couple of tracks that to me strike me as almost just a little bit odd. Tracks like Hotel Yorba, Little Room, and Aluminum. I don't know. I always kind of want to skip on to the next track when they start playing. So for that reason, I can't in good conscience put White Blood Cells in A+. However, it is a fantastic album otherwise, in my opinion. So I'm going to put White Blood Cells in A, right at the top of A. Up next is the White Stripes' 2003 album Elephant. This one's fantastic. I'm just gonna say it right off the bat. It is amazing in how they, again, just create super cool dynamics going on, but with very minimal stuff. And it's entertaining. The lyricism is so fun. Again, with that flux and flow between really restrained moments, and then they kind of bring the more punchy, rock-centric sounds as well to kind of balance out the restrained bits. It starts right off the bat with the track Seven Nation Army. I think that's the White Stripes' most popular song by far. What a start to an album. That track is fantastic. And yeah, again, they like the instrumentation is pretty minimalistic on this track, but they bring so much attitude to it. It's just awesome how they do that. The track In the Cold Cold Night is actually one of my favorites off of Elephant. Very restrained and melodic. I really, really love Meg's vocals on this track. She doesn't really lend a whole lot in terms of vocals to a lot of the White Stripes stuff, but when she does, I really, really enjoy her voice, and it suits this track perfectly. And then the track Ball and Biscuit is fantastic. I absolutely love this track. It might be my favorite on this entire album, actually. Such a great groove to it. It has a great edge to its sound, and then the breakdown around like the 3-minute 50-second mark is just awesome. This track brings it. It's so entertaining to listen to. So I am just going to not say anything else about this album. It's perfect in my opinion, and Elephant for me by the White Stripes goes right into A+. It is an absolutely amazing album, entertaining from start to finish. Up next is the album Get Behind Me, Satan. This one came out in 2005. This album, they definitely start to play around with some different sounds. On their previous albums, they kind of stuck to a more almost acoustic vibe, you know, some tambourine, piano, acoustic guitar, a lot of that going on. This album, they definitely embrace some more sounds and start to incorporate that into their tracks. The track Blue Orchid is awesome. I love just the snappiness that it has. It just really catches your ear right off the bat. It's probably my favorite track, I think, on this album. The Nurse is kind of an interesting track. I love the piano, and then the xylophone, I think it is. Again, just a change up on the sound. They're kind of introducing some new stuff onto this album. And then the tracks Instinct Blues, Take, 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 and Red Rain all kind of use some vocal distortions too. It caught my ear just because they hadn't really done that on their previous albums, and it was just a new sound that they were embracing, which I really appreciate when artists kind of do that. They just change their sound up a little bit. But overall, Get Behind Me, Satan is a fantastic album. Really enjoyed listening to it. It's not as perfectly well done or cohesive as Elephant, but it's definitely, I think, in A for me. I think I would put it above Distill, but below White Blood Cells. It's like right there. I think it's pretty much on par with White Blood Cells. Alright, and last up is Icky Thump. This is the White Stripes' most recent album, and this one was released in 2007. This one's interesting. The vocals are definitely clearer on this album. There's just less of that kind of muffled sound that they incorporate on a lot of their previous albums. There's definitely some really cool dynamics going on with the soft, more melodic moments paired with some punchier moments as well. They are still using those dynamics. However, on this album, they just didn't really capture my attention real strongly, I guess. I just kind of found it to fall into a bit of a repetitive lull. Like the tracks were kind of samey. I don't know. Even though they used those dynamics, they just kind of became repetitive by a certain point. 300 Mile Per Hour Torrential Outpour Blues is an interesting track. I absolutely love this song on the punchy, more energetic bits, but then when they pull it in and it becomes a little more melodic, it just kind of loses my attention. Conquest is a weird one for the White Stripes. Kind of has a little bit of a Spanish flair to it almost. It doesn't even sound like a White Stripes song in my opinion. And I will be honest, the tracks Prickly Thorn but Sweetly Worn and St. Andrew, I just straight up don't like. Just my opinion, but I just did not get into these songs. So ultimately, Icky Thump, I think of all the White Stripes albums, it's definitely the one I go to the least to listen to tracks off from it, and it just fades into the background of their discography. So I think Icky Thump I'm going to put in C. I would not say it's a D album. It definitely has some moments on it that are really, really fun to listen to, but just not a standout. So there you have it. That is my final White Stripes album ranking. So in A+, we have Elephant. In A, we have White Blood Cells, we have Get Behind Me Satan, and we have Distill. In B, we have their debut album, The White Stripes. And then in C, we have Icky Thump. And then there are no White Stripes albums in D. I do enjoy listening to all of them. So there you have it. That is going to wrap up my album ranking of all of the studio albums from the American rock duo The White Stripes. I really enjoyed making this video and going through and listening to all of their albums. They're just a super, super entertaining musical duo. And when it comes to rock music, they definitely do what they do extremely well. I don't really know any other band that kind of has the exact same sound as them. They're very unique, and it's what I love about The White Stripes. But yeah, definitely let me know down in the comments if you agree or disagree with my ranking and what your favorite White Stripes album is. And yeah, as usual, thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned, and I will see you in the next video.